guess this movie could have been called Presidents Can Be Dumbasses.
That's a good one. I like that.
So
we're working on T-shirts. So we'll add that to the list.
That's next.
I can't imagine trying to get anything, taking 20 years to try and get anything to happen. That I applaud you for that diligence. But can you talk about that initial idea to make a movie about Sy and why it took 20 years to get him to say yes?
I mean, the idea that motivated me from the beginning is the idea that motivated me and up until now, which is the sort of vital importance of investigative journalism, and that through Sy's body of work, we could understand something about this country and something about repetition and cycles of violence and impunity and how the world really works. I mean, as he says, I mean, he's sort of known as doing these counter narratives. And so when he published the extraordinary reporting around Abu Ghraib torture, I was like, okay, this, there's something, between the sort of echoes of that and My Lai, which is why I originally reached out to him. And then, you meet him and, I mean, he's great, I mean, so there's the films I do are usually portraits of people, but they're larger critiques of society. So yeah, it was kind of an obsession.
I mean, were you just checking it every once in a while and changing the pitch slightly on the movie you wanted to make with him?
Kind of, yeah.
So, okay, I mean, Laura, your films are sort of remarkable. It's the body of work because it's chronicling not just abuse of power, but also people finding their own, their own power. I mean, and Sy Hersh being this diehard journalist, it's like we get both. So, what was surprising to you in learning about how he operated and how that came to be? How his journalism world started?
In terms of Sy specifically?
Yeah. Just learning to know his story.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's one of the things that I didn't know was the kind of, I mean, I didn't know his whole, personal story. I mean, he wrote a memoir, so then I did learn about that. And I think for me, that was the first time. I mean, Mark has known him as a friend for longer, but that was, when I really kind of understood where he came from and what made him tick. And then also this, what talents he brought to the field of journalism, this kind of love of people, endless curiosity, allergic to bullshit, kind of a gossip, and just and also allergic to lies and abuse of power, just completely. And so journalism was, made a lot of sense. And so knowing about that story, I mean, that's, it's really important. Like, I don't consider this to be a biopic. We think of it as a portrait of Sy, but where he comes from is incredibly important for that portrait.
No, I just add to that. I think Sy is just backing up a little bit. I've known Sy for many, many years, so I had a picture of him, and I've worked with him, and I've seen him as a reporter. I've filmed him, made films about him, and as a reporter, and reporting stories. And you can't not come away with this feeling like this person has just this boundless energy and interest. It's just a profound curiosity that animates him constantly. And I think it's one of the things I think is central to making him a great film character. He's just so driven to find things out because of his own deep curiosity. And of course, some of the litany of things that Laura has mentioned, his deep skepticism about those in power. But it plays out all the time in his day-to-day life and his day-to-day reporting. And whether it's literally, his curiosity about the cost of things in a supermarket where he's shopping, or the machinations of Dick Cheney. It's this profound curiosity and that just propels him.
Mark, do you remember when you first met him and what that was like?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember when you first met Sy and what that was like?
It's in my mind perfectly. I was introduced to him by the executive producer of the public broadcasting show, named David Fanning, who produced, executive producer of Frontline. And he just said, Mark, I'd made some films for him, and Mark, why don't you go meet Cy and see if there's a film there? And I remember going to his office, as I think other people, I'm sure Laura has the same experience, this room 320 or whatever it is, the door opens and you're into this den stacked with papers and memorabilia that goes back, in this case, this was 1985 when I met him, so it goes back, 20 years. And it's just, it's like this reporter's cubby den. Yeah. And it's just, everyone who's ever been there walks out like, boy, that's not like any other
like
place I've ever been.
Twilight Zone. Yeah, it's like
Twilight
entering
Zone,
the
exactly.
Twilight Zone, time travel. Like, what
it's
is
crazy.
this?
It's just crazy. So it was, I could see him sitting at his desk like it was yesterday.
So how did you two come to work together on this? I mean, and especially, I guess, Mark, going from working with him to suddenly, I'm going to make a movie about you. It's like,
well, there were a number of things went on, but Cy and I had worked for at least a couple of years, actually, on an idea that actually is very relevant to his kind of mindset, which is that he is fond of saying there's always another level, meaning every story there's something that even his reporting hasn't uncovered. And some years ago, he and I discovered that there was more to My Lai, and specifically it was that the Army had given honorable discharges to 10, possibly 12, I don't really know the number, of the worst offenders there. And that was just to get them out of the military legal system and make them, so they could never be treated in the way Cali was. And so we thought there was something we wanted to do with that, and we started working on that. And we really didn't get very far because no one wanted to hear more about My Lai, quite frankly. And at one point, Laura approached him for the fourth time?
Well,
the
fifth?
fifth? I'm not sure when.
And I finished the film I did about Nan Goldin, and I was like, oh, maybe it's time to reach out to Cy again.
Yeah,
so then
it seems like a ritual.
Yeah.
But then he, I think, as usual, is his way, said no, I'm sure. But I thought, well, listen, this film is quite wonderful, and let's talk. And so we met and thought, well, maybe we could join forces and tackle Cy and maybe convince him, which we did.
Yoni, I want to get you involved. Can you talk maybe about how you got onto the project? Did you, and maybe talk about the research? Because when they're talking about this den, it sounds like that's a whole other thing to tackle as a filmmaker.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having us here. There should be probably 20 more chairs on this stage here for the team that did the research. We were incredibly lucky to work with Olivia Streisand, the archival producer, and also a producer on the film, organized, I think 70 boxes, bankers boxes worth of Cy stuff. They were organized in the way that Cy did, and then Olivia really looking through and finding things that we're interested in, talking to Cy about his work on My Lai, 50 years later. We're interested in talking to him about the Samson option, his reporting on the Israeli nuclear program, which didn't, end up making it to the film, but all of that was researched. Co-producer Nora Wilkinson, who read a lot of Cy's books, Charlie Nevins, our associate producer, who read a lot of Cy's books, Adam Melian. So, really it took, probably 10 people to read as much as Cy produced, one person. So it was an undertaking.
Yeah, I think none of us could quite hold all of it in our brains. And we had 3 people were editing. Amy Foote, who I'd worked with previously, a great editor, Peter Bauman, and I was editing. And I think at some point, Amy, when I sort of laid out the cards, we had like a card of all the potential scenes and all the books he's written and all that. And she was like, so this is one film, so, it was a bit daunting because you have to really know the material to do this translation. And then going back to like Olivia, there's like 7,000 or 6,000 different archival assets in the film. So it's a really complicated project organization, and the most complicated project I've ever worked on, because we felt like it needed to come to life in the materiality, both the archival footage and then also the sort of primary documents that we filmed. Like we wanted it to feel like very process oriented, like for the journalist who might see this, like that this is how a story happens, and like letting it unfold. We really wanted that, and that the primary documents were like a form of evidence. And so in terms of how we handled all that. So yeah, we were many. And then even just, we needed many because fielding size emails and phone calls, we need to be many. God. Because he can, you call him up and it can be an hour goes by. And
or you read an email that's pages long from him, that how he could write it in 10 minutes is unbelievable. But I do want to, I think we all want to tip our hat to Olivia, because the research in gathering the materials that are the kind of the spine of the film, having made some films with archival material, I just am so incredibly impressed by it. But also, she did the task of handling size, voluminous yellow notepads that have the roadmap through his whole life and career, and all of them unintelligible, basically unreadable. And she somehow deciphered them and organized them in a way that would allow us to photograph them wonderfully and make them part of the film. I think it's just a remarkable accomplishment.
And we were interested in ideas of history not being inevitable, that history's made. And it's made, we're making it today, what will be history. We're making it at every moment. And that it's not predetermined, it's not inevitable. It's not inevitable that the world ever found out what happened at My Lai, right? If there hadn't been somebody, there to sort of tip off Sy, it might have been covered up. It's not inevitable that we know about torture in Abu Ghraib. I mean, the government was trying to suppress it. And so, and there are these, ways in which this country fails to deal with its history, and particularly at these moments of atrocities or wrongdoing, sort of sets the stage for them to happen again. And, and so here we are today, where it seems that impunity is just like become normative, and that didn't come out of nowhere. It's not like we're not in a vacuum, and so we really wanted it to have sort of a, constant tension with the past and the present in dialogue.
No, it feels like you saw one of my cards, because you're literally like describing like this idea that history in this movie feels like. Also, we sometimes look at things like My Lai and think, well, that happened in the past. It's done. It's like My Lai is now. You say My Lai, and it's like that story's over. Well, it's not over.
It's not over.
Yeah.
No, it's not over. I mean, there are two different ways in which, you have a government or a state that seeks to suppress the past, right? And doesn't have accountability, but what is carried forward by the people who suffered and the trauma that's carried forward. Both obviously in Vietnam or in Iraq. This trauma is generational. It doesn't go away. And for the soldiers who are asked to fight these bad wars. So there is this way in which, by not processing it, it never goes away. And that's why I feel it's imperative that we keep talking about these histories, because we haven't dealt with them.
Just one thing to add to that. I think this film has been in the works for over 2 years, and its relevance has grown as the political landscape in this country has changed, particularly with protections for the First Amendment. And I think you begin to see in this film the importance of reporting, and at a time when I think you can fair to say that reporting is under siege. At least the sources who might speak to people like Sy are intimidated now. So I think it's a very different climate, and I think the film kind of just kind of met the moment, if you will.
Do you think also, though, people, even like established journalists, don't even know what to think of reporting now, because the impunity thing makes it very, like, if it's one thing when it's a cover up and then you just uncover it, but when the administration is with impunity just saying, well, we're doing this thing, and it's not a cover up, it's like we're doing it out in the open. How do you report report that in a way that's impactful?
I mean, I think that's the job of journalists to figure that out. I mean, if we look at this sort of recent situation with journalists turning in their passes at the Pentagon, I mean, obviously they were asked to sign something horrible. But, I think what I would be the first to say is, like, you're not going to break any stories inside the Pentagon. Listening to those lies, like, this is a good, go and do your job, go and do journalism. And I do actually believe that you can break through. I refuse to accept that we can relinquish, our freedoms. Like, we just cannot do that as journalists or citizens. We can't do that, or people who, live in this world.
Now, you get the yes from him. You start making the movie. And I'm just kind of wondering, the prickly parts are fascinating. So can you talk about...
Sure.
Prickly parts, did you say?
What prickly parts?
What are you referring to? Gee, I don't know.
I mean, first of all, like, yes, we get the prickly parts, but Sy, just so you know, like, was all in from the, like, once he was in, and he was so generous with his time and with sharing his notes, but it's still not easy. It's not easy to have people, like, with your notes, and so it's still hard and it's still complicated. But we needed to capture that and show that. And I'll kick it over to Yoni to talk about the day that Sy quit.
Quitting day?
No, it's okay. I mean, we could all. There was some scary moments that day. I mean, I think he, as you saw in the film, he was upset about, nervous about sources being revealed. I mean, and that's that's kind of the soul of a lot of his work. And at the same time, as he was saying, let's just quit, and we were saying, okay, let's cut, then he would keep talking and explaining why he felt this way and what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. And so I think, to Laura's point, he's so committed once he does something that even when he was trying to quit, he was also trying to explain himself and make things work. But he did leave, and we didn't know if we were coming back the next day to film. So luckily he came back.
Because we're all here.
And I think he was very much motivated to participate in this film,
Absolutely.
not from a position of whatever, his ego, but he cares deeply about the field of investigative journalism. And he felt that we cared also deeply about that, and that he was going to subject himself to this process that was not always comfortable for him. And he also did trust us. I mean,
he says he didn't trust us. I don't trust you. Not true. Yeah. That's not true. It's absolutely not true. Sy says a lot of stuff like that, and he is very emotional. And when that happened, I wasn't worried. I went and visited him at home. He was talking to his wife, and they were back on board. So, but that's Sy, and it's strangely enough, I think that kind of passion, that kind of emotion that he brings to things, is he brings to his reporting, and I think it's sustained him in a way, so in a kind of perverse way.
Not one more question?
One more? Okay, one more. Go ahead. Oh,
of course.
Has Sy seen it?
Yeah.
What does he think?
He thinks it's great. Just fantastic.
He has seen it. He was with us in Venice. His whole family came, and he cried at the end. I don't think he was prepared for the warm embrace.
No.
Because I think he's had a lot of sort of chilly encounters with colleagues, because he does things like investigate the institutions that he works for, that people get a little bit prickly about that. And so I think he's been very, touched by the gratitude that people have.
In Venice, there was a 6-minute standing ovation, and we were standing there encouraging the audience to keep going, because that's how they measure success in Venice, is the length of and he's saying, no, it's done, it's 6 minutes, and he's crying, and he loved it. Come on, why wouldn't he?
Well, Laura, Mark, Yoni, thank you very much for coming and
Thank you.
talking about this incredible
Thank you so
film.
much.